If you make the decision to use Jupiter's energy intentionally in 2025, your expansion has no limits. Hola, beautiful souls. Welcome back or welcome to my channel, where we merge the cosmos with self-development using astrology, spirituality, and wellness to become our highest selves every day. If that sounds like something you're interested in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. That way you don't miss future videos like this one. You can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok, where I have more fun content for you, more energy readings, and more life updates, as well as heading to my website to see my current offerings and my newsletter. Today's video is all about Jupiter going direct in Gemini and what that holds for us until Jupiter changes signs in June. Jupiter will be in Gemini moving direct until June 9th when it moves into Cancer. There's a lot of exciting energy around this transit because it is truly so exciting and so expansive. If you choose to leverage this energy to your own benefit, your expansion will be incredible. So in this video, I'm going to use my handy dandy notes to guide you guys kind of through what I think the energy entails for the next few months until Jupiter moves into Cancer in June, which I will make a separate video for that at a later date. But for now, we'll be focusing on the next few months before June, and I will kind of be taking you through what Jupiter moving through Gemini means in general. Then I'm going to give you some actual advice, actual actionable steps that you can use to move through this transit positively, in my opinion. First, let's talk about Jupiter in Gemini and what Jupiter's movement through the zodiac sign Gemini means. If you're not aware, Jupiter is considered the planet of expansion in a nutshell. It rules over the fire sign Sagittarius, and if you don't know, Sagittarius is the archer of astrology, meaning that they're always thinking of the bigger vision, the long vision, the target that they want to aim to hit. Even if it seems too far away and too lofty for others, they often thrive on learning directly from their experiences and adventures in life, and this is how they expand their horizons and gain their wisdom. Jupiter seeks for us to do the same. Whenever Jupiter is moving through a sign, it's kind of telling us the specific techniques we can use at that point in time in order to expand our own horizons. So at this point in time, Jupiter is moving through Gemini, meaning that Jupiter wants us to expand our horizons through the sign of Gemini. Gemini is ruled by the planet Mercury. Mercury is considered the messenger planet because it rules over everything communications, mental process, etc. So when Gemini comes into the mix, we have the energy of Hermes, the messenger god, meaning that communications of all kind, learning, sharing information, etc. is going to be extremely important. With Jupiter moving through Gemini, we're going to feel a need to expand ourselves by connecting with others, by learning something new, by expanding the ways in which we communicate. Take myself, for example. Once Jupiter went direct in Gemini, I immediately had this like fire burning in my soul to be more communicative online. I wasn't even consciously thinking of this transit because I'm not somebody who is always mapping the transits because I think that's anxiety inducing and can quickly become unhealthy. However, once I realized Jupiter had moved direct in Gemini, I was like, wow. No wonder I suddenly, like the floodgates just opened when it came to my need to connect. I immediately put a greater emphasis on engaging with my online community and making more actionable steps happen to engage my community. Obviously, for all of us, the ways in which we desire to expand are going to be different. So Jupiter in Gemini is going to touch all of our lives in a very different way, depending on where it's moving through our natal chart, etc. But you may feel that sudden urge to move in a certain direction or push yourself to learn something new that will serve a higher purpose, serve a greater purpose. Ultimately, Jupiter wants us to try something new to serve our greater purpose, the long vision, the lofty goal that we may have. And right now, we're encouraged to use Gemini's energy to do so. The biggest piece of advice that I have when leveraging this energy is to be open to change, to be versatile and willing to pivot. Jupiter can tend to have an insatiable craving for new adventures and new experiences, whereas Gemini can have an insatiable curiosity where they need to constantly be intaking information, learning things, and pivoting mentally and physically. So when you have these two energies combined, there is a need to open yourself to that adaptability. If you try to remain rigid and stuck in your ways, this is going to feel difficult because you are resisting change. Change is good. Easier said than done that we allow change to happen, of course, but if it makes you feel any better, this may or may not make you feel better, but if it makes you feel any better, the universe is going to do what it does. The waves are going to come. The energy flow of the universe works in waves. Sometimes the tide comes in and it's extremely strong and overwhelming, and sometimes the tide goes out and it's very serene, calm, peaceful. Whatever this transit is bringing for you, it is meant to be positive for your own growth and expansion. However, it may feel like an aggressive tidal wave sometimes, especially if we are being resistant to the change. If we are like a rock on the beach being hit by this tidal wave, then it is going to crash into us aggressively. But if we're like the sand that's able to ebb and flow with the waves and allow ourselves to be malleable to what's happening around us, we are more likely to benefit from what is happening. Allow the tidal wave to take you to new places, to new experiences, to new things. The more that you fear that change, the greater resistance that you hold within yourself, the more difficult this is going to feel. And it's okay to take baby steps. Something that can be prevalent when we have Jupiter and Gemini in the mix is we can be a little bit too lofty in the sense that we don't know where to focus our energy. And because we have so many ideas and so much energy flooding in, we can become indecisive and we can lack focus because we have too much going on in our brain and we don't even know where to start, and then we can stagnate and all kinds of things that are not serving us at the end of the day. Even though you should be open to the change, it is vital that you take small, actionable baby steps at the same time in order to keep you focused on what actually matters at a time where your focus can become very scattered if you're not careful. So that is the overall energy of Jupiter moving through Gemini. In the next coming months, February, March, April, and May, we're going to have Jupiter touching a lot of transits with Venus and Mercury, especially when they move through Pisces and Aries. If you look at the planetary movements during these next few months, Aries and Pisces are a massive focus, and Jupiter is going to constantly be interacting with the planets, moving through Aries and Pisces, especially Venus and Mercury. What this means for us overall is that, one, we're going to have a huge focus in February around moving out of stagnancy in relationships. And this doesn't have to just go for our romantic relationships. It's personal relationships of all kinds. Venus in Aries is going to be forming a sextile with Jupiter for the remainder of February and even a little ways into March. So it's going to be a huge theme this month, which is crazy because it's the month of Valentine's Day, the month of love. But it's going to be influencing us to move out of stagnancy in relationships, or we're going to have a desire to be more adventurous and try something new when it comes to relationships. Aries is the initiator zodiac sign, the first sign of the entire zodiac cycle. It is the one that starts things and it's not afraid to tread new territory if it means that it gets to establish something different, learn something new, or just go against the grain in general. You may suddenly feel an aggressive need to expand yourself in relationships, whether it's a relationship that has been keeping you small. Again, this can go for family, friends, lovers, it doesn't matter. Something that's been keeping you small, keeping you insecure, etc. The list goes on. You're going to be gently encouraged to reevaluate it. And this doesn't necessarily mean that something really painful has to happen, but it may mean that you're going to just feel that urge, whether you need to have a conversation. Conversations are huge at this time because, again, Jupiter and Gemini, communication. So whether it's finally having a conversation you've been avoiding, where you need to speak to your partner, to your friend, to your family member about something that is important in order for your relationship to expand, in order for your relationship to grow positively. But whatever it may be, whether it means having a conversation, moving out of a relationship, leaving something behind that's not serving you, somehow, some way, you are being lovingly nudged by the universe when Venus in Aries forms a sextile with Jupiter and Gemini to move out of something that is creating stagnancy and not fulfilling you in your life. So that way you can, again, expand your horizons in the way that Jupiter wants you to. On top of that, we have Jupiter in Gemini being squared by Mercury in Pisces as well. This is taking place in February, but then in March, we also have the Pisces Sun squaring Jupiter in Gemini as well. What I'm really feeling here is that a lot of people are also going to be leaning into what spirituality means for them. And even though they may not consciously know that it's spirituality they're questioning, there's going to be a sense of introspection, deep introspection, and this may look different for everybody. A lot of people are probably going to start leaning into spiritual practices. We may see a resurgence in religion, especially Christianity. We may see a resurgence in New Age esoteric spirituality practices. A lot of people are probably going to be reevaluating and relearning what their spiritual connection looks like to them and what they want it to mean to them and how it's going to look in their daily lives. When we have Gemini around, there's a huge focus on our daily habits because, again, Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Mercury has a lot to do with micro details, kind of analyzing the little things and putting a magnifying glass up to it. So that goes into our daily habits. Habits are a huge focus with Gemini in the mix. So we're going to wonder, how can we instill spirituality into our daily habits? What does that look like for us? What does that mean for us? But if you find that you're starting to feel very introspective and you almost feel like you're having an awakening of some kind, whether you consider yourself somebody who has had a spiritual awakening before, you may find that you're having a new one, that there's some type of new awakening happening. And there may be moments where this can feel a little bit difficult because anytime that our spiritual energy is challenged or questioned, it can often feel a little tough to move through. It can come with a little bit of darkness. However, this energy is not meant to be dark. This energy is meant to be an awakening that brings out your inner glow that you've been suppressing for whatever reason. And this can heavily tie into what I said about relationships. You may find that the two tie into each other, whether it's the spiritual awakening that you're having or the spiritual questioning that you're having that makes you question your relationships, or vice versa. Maybe you let go of a stagnant relationship or something that's not serving you, and then that triggers a spiritual awakening for you again. Whatever it may be, however it may look for you, the overall goal here is that you are introspective and reflective and kind of figuring out what it is that reconnects you to your inner self, to your aura, to your energetic self, the real you, especially at a time where the external world is so influential on us and can oftentimes mold us into something that is unrecognizable to ourselves. We are being challenged by Pisces to be introspective and to really get to know our deeper depths again. We often have to relearn ourselves various times throughout our life, and this will probably be one of those times for many people where it feels like you're relearning your true self. All right, now let's move through 5 pieces of advice that I personally think will help you move through this transit positively. Number 1 is to feed your brain in order to spark fresh inspiration. Jupiter in Gemini wants us to be mentally moved out of stagnancy and to be mentally inspired in order to move forward with our goals and move forward with something that feels fulfilling to us. At this time, you are encouraged to learn something new. This could mean so many things. Maybe you need to reignite a passionate hobby that you have. Maybe go to a cooking class or just cook in your home or bake for fun because you love baking or because you truly are passionate about it. Whatever the driving reason is, it reignites inspiration when we constantly have new experiences and or we engage in experiences that inspire us because we're passionate about it or simply because we enjoy it. There are so many times where I feel depleted of inspiration, and the moment I go out, even if I don't go to some crazy nature trail in the mountains, I can just go on like a neighborhood walk. And there are a lot of times where something on that walk will make a light bulb go off, and I'll have an inspired epiphany that creates a whole new set of ideas that I wasn't thinking about prior. There are so many ways to spark inspiration, and Gemini encourages us to not only mentally pivot and have that adaptability to do so, but to also embrace our curiosity and satiate it. Feed your curiosity. A lot of times we don't because we feel like we're too tired, we get stuck in a monotonous routine, but Jupiter in Gemini wants you to move past that monotony and challenge yourself to do something out of your usual norm in order to spark that inspiration you need to keep going in life, to keep yourself fueled, and to a greater frequency that serves your future in a positive way. Piece of advice number 2 is to script out your visualizations. I am a huge fan. As a Pisces, as a daydreaming queen, I am a huge fan of visualization and kind of just dreaming out these visions in your head of what you desire in your life. But when we have Gemini around, written communication, verbal expression is extremely important because, again, Gemini is ruled by Mercury, the planet of communications and the mental process. So at this time, not just keeping visualizations in your head, but actually writing them out. Writing out in great detail because Gemini loves detail. Writing them out in great detail. What it is that you visualize down to the T. Jupiter has one of the heaviest connections to manifestation energy in astrology. Whatever zodiac sign Jupiter is currently being channeled into, that is how we can most heavily channel that manifesting energy that Jupiter brings into the picture. But not just that, because of all the Piscean interactions that Jupiter will be having at this time, I also encourage you to write out dreams that you're having, random epiphanies that you think of, random creative ideas that may pop into your head, and your emotions. Script out, talk about, and express your emotions. Whether it's verbally in like a voice note, you can take a voice note on your phone that is just for your safekeeping and reflect back on it later, or whether it's actually writing them out in a journal or a piece of paper of some kind. This can also be a huge way for you to mentally process what is going on with your energetic body, with your internal energy shifts, the emotional shifts that you may feel as Jupiter interacts with Pisces. Number 3 is to not be impulsive. Like I briefly mentioned earlier in this reading, Jupiter and Gemini both have impulsive, reckless energy at times that we just need to make sure we're keeping in check. And Jupiter won't really be making any aspects with some of the more rigid energies, such as Capricorn or Taurus, so it won't really have anything to slow it down. In fact, with all of its interactions with Aries and Pisces, it may feel even more impulsive and reckless at times, and we may be tempted to make impulsive decisions that are actually not good for us. I would just be wary of any moments where you're starting to feel like you're about to make an impulsive decision that is perhaps questionable, and to sit with it and to go back to journaling, like I mentioned in the previous point, that would be a great moment for you to reflect through journaling. It's kind of like when you put something in your shopping cart and then they say to leave it there for like a certain time span and come back to it to see if you still really want it that badly, rather than making an impulse purchase. It's kind of the same thing. Don't make an impulse purchase with your decision. Give it time to marinate and process it the way that you need to before you act on it recklessly. Number 4 is to be aware of having scattered energy and too much focus on the mind. With Gemini so heavily in the picture, sometimes we can get too caught up in the brain. Whereas this is a great time, again, to learn something new, to feed that mental curiosity, to mentally expand yourself. This is also a time where there can be maybe too much focus on the mind. And this is where the Pisces aspects are going to be challenging us. When Pisces interacts with Jupiter and Gemini, it's going to challenge us to also lean into the spiritual body and not just stay stuck in the mind. So as long as we're making active steps to move out of our mind and into the body at this time, this can be through activities like yoga. You can go on nature walks or hiking, which is also very beneficial for Jupiter energy. Jupiter loves adventurous physical activities, whether it's through dancing, whether it's through creative activities such as sculpting, painting, drawing, crafting of some kind. As long as you're making a conscious decision to actively move out of the mind into the body and also keep your creative, energetic space open and expansive rather than shutting it down because you're too logical and overthinking too much. This can also contribute to the scattered energy and not knowing where to focus. Going back again to what I said earlier in the video, small actionable steps are going to serve you well during this transit. Don't try to do too much at once or take on too much at once. My last piece of advice is to have fun. Go on adventures, explore, have new experiences, especially if it's something physical. If there is a place that you've wanted to go, even if it's not far away, it could be new restaurants, new cafes, museums, something. Plan at least a day, maybe every month, every other month, where you go on a new adventure and you see new territories. You must embrace the inner explorer energy of Jupiter because we are constantly supposed to learn lessons from every planet and every zodiac sign. From Jupiter and Sagittarius, we are supposed to learn the ways in which trying new things, expanding our horizons, and treading new territories can lead to profound inspiration, profound wisdom, knowledge that is unmatched and cannot be found anywhere else. Whether the experiences end up in failure or something challenging, or whether it's just the most incredible thing you've ever experienced, that either way is what leads to our ultimate highest growth. So go have fun. Do things that are going to be fun for you, that are going to make you laugh and make you feel light. We do need to remember that in order to feel fulfilled, in order to stay connected to ourselves, and in order to grow into our highest selves and to keep our frequency at a place where we feel happy with it, we must have fun. Make time for enjoyment, make time for laughter and lightheartedness, and you will never regret it. Once again, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. That way you don't miss future videos like this one. Until I see you in the next one, you can watch the videos coming up on the end screen because I highly recommend those if you want to continue using astrology in order to expand yourself and grow into your highest self. Thank you so much for being here. Adios.